What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a on-ice review of the 13 Fishing Black Betty 6061 inline ice fishing reel. This isn't going to be a technical review. I'm not going to be going over all the technical specs of it. I'll just put a quick flash up of what them are. What I'm going to be talking about is my 1 year review with this reel on the ice. I've had this reel for just about a year, and I'm going to do a 1 year review on it. I'm up here in Maine. You know, for anybody that's not following my channel, I'm up here in Maine and we can have some pretty intense conditions. So what I'm going to do is just talk about my experience with this reel. I'm using this reel on a handmade 32-inch ultralight, and this reel I use pretty much standard right across the board. I primarily use this for panfish, crappie, white perch, yellow perch, a couple sunfish here or there. I have caught a few smallmouth in the 3-pound range with it. I have caught a few pike that were pushing 6 pounds. So I feel like I've really worked this reel over the past year and feel like I'm ready to give a review on it. Most of my thoughts on this are positive. There is one negative thing that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Alright, so we're going to start off by talking why I went to this reel versus the standard spinning. I've been using spinning reels, my whole life, mostly for open water. I really got into jigging last year and just kind of didn't like how the spinning reels were performing. The big thing I didn't like was how much your line can twist. When you have your drag, kind of half set and you're reeling in a fish, and as you're reeling in, the drag's going, that twists your line. So I didn't like, dragging my jig up and having a big line twist. So that's a big reason. Another reason is I didn't like having to, rip line out, to let the jig down. And another one, I just wanted something that was a little more compact. The standard spinning reels are a little bulkier. The handles come out a little further. They take up a little more room in your backpack, your rod storage bag, whatever you carry them in, just takes up a little more room. So them were the big reasons. I just liked how it comes straight off the spool versus winding like a spinning reel does. So that's a quick summary of why I went this route. I'm using a 1/16 ounce handmade jig right now with a night crawler on it. Probably not focusing that well, but what I'm getting at is all you have to do is touch this button here. This is what releases it. As long as you give it a little bit of control with your pinky there, it'll send that jig down no problem. And one thing you do have to watch out with these type of reels, if you're thinking about swapping over to an inline, is this does have a bait casting reel type of feel to it. And what I mean by that is if you take your jig, just let that spool fall. As soon as that jig hits bottom, this spool is going to continue going and you can get a backlash. So that is a little bit of a downfall. But again, as long as you're aware of it and you slow it down with your pinky, it's fine. And another reason I went to this reel is I like bait casters, and I like being able to access the drag system as you're actually reeling a fish. So I can just tune this as I'm reeling in a fish. The big claws on that, I can access, with gloves, no problem. For some reason, I didn't like having to try to mess around with a top drag on a spinning reel. In the summer, it's not bad, but when you have gloves on, to me, I just felt like that was a little more of a burden. And sometimes, like I'm doing right now, I'll put a lot of pressure on the spool, and I'll just rip out a foot or two so it goes back down to bottom. Alright, so I'll just show you guys real quick some of the functions on this reel. This knob here, you take off, you can pull the spool off. That knob doesn't actually fall out. Take your spool off, give you a quick look inside there. Put that back on, make sure everything's lined up, tighten it down. And on this side of the reel, you have your handle, obviously, your drag. This button here, you tap that, that's what will free fall your jig. And this here is your bait clicker. So if you want to dead stick this, you can do that. The drag's pretty tight. This actually feels like it does dead stick pretty well. And that's dragged pretty much off, and it doesn't take much to pull out. And the other button here is your spool tension. So when you hit this button, you can tighten this or loosen it, for whatever size jig you have. So that's just a quick basic look of the reel here. I do love the handles, real nice comfortable handles. So with gloves on, you can reach for your reel and pick up one of these knobs, no problem. So that's just a quick summary, of why I went this route and some of the basic features of it. And so far, a year in, I love this thing. The one downfall I'm going to talk about is using this thing out in the conditions in below zero weather. I had this happen once last year, and that was the only time it happened. I just thought it was kind of a fluke, but it happened again a couple weeks ago. I was fishing a lake without a shack, and it was 9 below, and something in this reel either froze up or weren't engaging. And what that was is, when I was out fishing, I'd drop down to the depth I was fishing, I'd click my reel over, I'd hear a click, but the line was still able to free spool out, not drag spool out. With my drag tight, I was still able to pull line out. And again, I'm not sure exactly what the mechanism is in here, but I think when the reel was clicking over, I don't think it was engaging the reel. I think whatever was in there for grease was probably too cold to let that happen. So what I had to do to fix that is take this knob here, just move the spool back and forth, make sure it clicked in good, tighten it back up, and it would engage. I had it happen 3 times that one day a couple weekends ago, and it was a pain. But again, I was out in the conditions. It was 9 below. We had about a 5-mile-an-hour wind. And that's the only time, with the exception of last year, which again was below zero. I don't know the exact number, but it was right around that, anywhere from, 5 to 10 below zero. That's the only time I've had it happen, is when it's well below zero. A day like this, it's 15 degrees with a 5-mile-an-hour wind off and on, and this reel is performing flawlessly. I've had this out several times, around zero, and it's performed flawlessly. So, a year in, that's the only downfall I've seen, is out in the conditions, well below zero. Something doesn't work quite right in here. I'm hoping if I get in there, throw some real low temp grease, that'll help. But I got to dig around a little bit and see what's going on with that. I haven't had time to really dig in and even see what the mechanism looks like. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hopefully get to that in the next couple of days, within the next week, and hopefully I'll be able to report back on that. So that basically sums up the only downfall. Another thing I like about this is I like to have the double paddles. It's a real nice, comfortable grip. I find, you could be jigging with gloves on and be able to pick one of these grips up, no problem. I run this with anywhere from 4-pound to 6-pound line. If I'm in a place that has pike, I'll try to run 6-pound. Not that it makes a huge difference, but you can wind a ton of line on this and not even have to worry about running out of line. Another question I get is, how does this do, fighting bigger fish? Like I said, I don't specifically target pike with this reel, but I have caught a couple pike in the 6-pound range, and this reel has handled them flawlessly. I didn't feel like I was undergunned. I have no doubt you could easily target, that size fish, maybe even up to, 8 or 10-pound fish, no problem. I do plan on trying to fish for lake trout here sometime soon, and I'm going to be using this reel, and I'm pretty confident it's going to work fine. So I want to talk real quick about the real fine, like small jigs. This is a 1/16, and this reel will drop this jig down like it's nothing. I did tie up a few micro jigs that I don't even know how small they are. 1/32 maybe. Real small, tiny jigs. And this would drop them down fine. The first 5 or 10 feet was a little slow, but once you got down past 5, 6, 7, 8 feet, them little micro jigs flew down no problem. You did have to have this spool tension knob, at its lowest setting, but this will drop a real fine jig, no problem. All right, guys, so that pretty much summarizes the Black Betty 6061 review that I wanted to do. Again, I didn't intend this to be a real technical review. I wanted this just to be a 1-year kind of review on the ice, with my experience type of review. And I think I hit pretty much everything on it that I wanted to touch on. So far, I love this reel. I actually either plan on getting another one of these or the Step Up, which is the free fall. Even with that problem I had with it freezing a week ago, that one function freezing, I'm not too worried about it. I'm hoping if I just throw some grease on it, some low temp grease, I'm hoping that will take care of it. If you guys have any other questions, leave a comment. I'll try my best to answer them. If you have a Black Betty 6061 and you want to share your experience, feel free in the comments. I feel like that's important as well, you know, just to get as much feedback as you can with these reviews. But we're going to wrap this one up here, guys, and we'll see you soon.